Christian children's programming, generally regarded as pretty innocent and wholesome, from the campiness of Bible Man, to the weirdness of the Donut Man, to the absolute absurd such as Gerber.
Hello, friend. I'm so glad to see you today.
These shows are usually looked at as pretty innocent and wholesome, but what if they weren't? Yes, I grew up in a Christian household, and I was exposed to quite a few of these shows, mostly Bible Man, Donut Man, and the one that we're going to talk about today, And I will let you know that Veggietales is the only show of all the shows that I still rewatch from time to time. The jokes just hold up sometimes. Not all the time, but for Christian programming, it's actually pretty good. And some of the themes are actually pretty mature, believe it or not. Two friends who met at Bible college, I believe, Phil Vischer and Mike Noraki, went to create not just one of the most beloved Christian shows of all time, but also one of the most innovative. See, back in 1993, computer-generated imagery was still kind of in its infancy. You had some older stuff like Tin Toy, and, Wally and the Bee. No, that's wrong. It's The Adventures of Andre and Wally B. Next time, maybe Google something before recording. Thank you very much. But you really didn't have a recurring show. There might have been a few before, but Veggietales really did change a lot of the landscape when it came to being completely computer generated. Apparently they were so good for the time that even Pixar reached out to them about one of the scenes in this clip here.
Now, this chewing technology was new at the time, too.
Yeah.
We thought, hey, let's just stick orbs on their cheeks and wiggle them.
Pixar was actually so impressed with this shot that they called us and asked, how did you do those cheeks? And we said, we're sorry, we can't tell you.
Originally slated to be made out of candy bars, the creators' wives actually said, hey, why don't you make it out of healthier food? Maybe that'll appeal to the parents more. So that's what they did. And plus, vegetables are not hard to render or create with polygons. Through the company they created, Big Idea Productions, they went on to create countless VHS for the time in the 90s and 2000s, and you could even see them in churches, any Christian bookstore, anywhere you could think of. Getting on to the actual topic of the video, Veggietales has some interesting themes that might go over some kids' heads, and some logical decisions that are pretty bizarre, honestly. And we're going to go over a few of those today. Without further ado, let's fly over to Veggietale Land and see exactly what's going on with our photosynthesizing friends. The first example of kind of strange ideas that they had for the Veggietales is pizza. So there's this scene where Bob the Tomato is rushing back to Madame Blueberry's house after this big catastrophe at a big mall. He is in a grocery cart, and there's a beeping going off with a light, and it's kind of intense. You might think, oh, is this gonna be an explosive going off and really just thwart the plans of Bob the Tomato? Well, it turns out it's just a coupon for pizza with a lion on it. So Bob looks at the camera office style, and you might be thinking, okay, he's probably just looking at the camera as to say, really? A coupon? But think about what's on pizza. Usually tomato sauce. Is that why he's so disappointed? Because it could be his cousin on that pizza. Which begs the question, are there tomatoes and other vegetables that are protesting against the creation of pizza? Or is pizza made out of completely different ingredients? We do know that there are other animals in the series. There are sheep, pigs later on, cows, or at least cebus, which are kind of like a cow. So we can know where milk and cheese and everything comes from, but where does the tomato sauce come from? Really makes you think. In Jonah, a Veggietales movie, Jonah is captured along with the pirates who don't do anything on the island of Nineveh, and they are caught stealing some of the cheese curls. It makes more sense if you actually watch the film, but really not that much more. Go watch it if you're curious. It's on YouTube. Anyway, they have a demonstration of what's going to happen to them once they're captured. They use a pumpkin who gets slapped into oblivion, basically squashed completely. But why is this pumpkin not sentient? It's the only vegetable in the universe of Veggietales that isn't sentient. Is it already dead? do dead vegetables in this world act like normal vegetables in our world? Either way, they slap the thing, and a little bit of the guts basically get on Archibald. So they basically just watched a gore fest. It's really unnerving once you think of it that way. One, why is the pumpkin not sentient? Two, just for them to see the gore like that really does put it into perspective of what's going to happen to them because they stole some cheese curls. Kind of a crazy punishment, but Nineveh is known for being completely lawless society, or at least very barbaric, apparently. So, that's that. In the short, King George and the Ducky. King George has all these rubber duckies, but there's one of them he doesn't have, and it belongs to a child in the kingdom that he presides over. And he wants that ducky. It's not like he has enough already, I guess. Now his advisor, Lewis, tells him, hey, maybe you don't want to go do that. It's just one ducky, you have so many. And he's like, no, screw that. I want that ducky, even though it belongs to a kid. But now, at the same time, there's a great war going on. The Great Pie War. So, in order to get that ducky, he sends the child, Thomas, played by Junior, into war so he can steal the ducky. Thomas comes back with PTSD, which is already pretty intense, to say the least. But King George gets his ducky, and all's well with King George, I guess. Doesn't really care about the PTSD or anything. Pretty evil guy, if you ask me. It's not until Pa Grape comes along and essentially tells him in a parable, he says something about there was once a man with a lot of land and a lot of sheep, but he wanted the last lamb of this poor guy. And King George is like, why? He had all these sheep and everything. Why did he need the last one? What a horrible person. But then the Pa Grape says, that's you.
What you have done has made God very unhappy.
He's like, damn, I really did that. So he says, well, I gotta make it up to him. And everybody lives happily ever after. The end.
It's Bible time with Big's Jesus.
It's already a little bit of a dark episode with the whole war thing and PTSD, but if you think about the real story with David and Bathsheba and Uriah, basically the king sends Uriah into war to get killed so that King David can take Uriah's wife, Bathsheba, because there was an affair already going on, and he basically had already done stuff with Bathsheba, and she got pregnant. And then he wanted Uriah and Bathsheba to also, so that it would look like it was their child. But since Uriah wouldn't do that, he said, all right, Uriah, you can go to the front of the battle and die. Didn't tell him that, but basically, instead of a ducky, it was his wife. And it gets really complicated and really dark. So that's a wild story to take from, but they made it more kid-friendly, obviously. But it's still a little bit unnerving if you think about it. This is kind of piggybacking off the last story of their child-friendly version versus the real version. There's another episode of Little Joe, which is based on Joseph and the Coat of Many Colors, where Joe, played by Larry, goes into this saloon and essentially gets framed for stealing by this one woman because he wouldn't take a bribe of hers to get back home or whatever because he's lost or whoever. He ran away from home. That was the Veggietales version, but the real version, it gets a lot darker there. But, I mean, what can you do? Joseph and the Coat of Many Colors is one of the most retold stories, at least in media, that I can think of. So I guess it was just ripe for the taking, even though they had to change quite a few things, just like these other stories. So, those are basically the examples that I wanted to show about the absurd and pretty dark side of Veggietales, if you really think about it. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm not really here to debate religion or whether or not you agree with what they said. I mean, there's a picture of me where I look like this, a mod from r/atheism that I'm just not equipped to debate any of that. So, I'm just here to entertain and tell stories and talk about stuff that I'm interested in. So, if you want to check out the original Veggietales or even look at the real stories in the Bible, you go ahead. I have no affiliation either way. But I hope you enjoyed the video. This has been Vlad Millen Videos, and there will be more to come. Thank you very much.